Osio, it's the native dev. All right, now that we have used Homebrew to download Git onto our machine, we are ready to jump into GitHub. GitHub is a website that lets us store and track our code changes. It's a version control software powered by Git that lets us track changes, upload changes, and collaborate with others without having to rewrite or overwrite other people's code. You can think of it a little bit like Google Docs, but for code. You can have a whole team of people making changes, edits, comments, and collaborating and working and making changes safely. So we're going to start right here at github.com. And the first thing that we're going to do is we want to make an account. If you do not already have an account, you're going to want to go ahead and sign up. You can do it either right here by entering your email and hitting sign up for GitHub, or you can come up here to this sign up button, where you can also sign up with your email, select your username, but you can also just continue with Google. So if you have a Google account, you can just hit continue with Google. It will make an account for you. Since I already have an account, I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And once you sign in, you're going to come to this page. This is what it looks like when you have a brand new account and you haven't created anything in here yet. There are some great tutorials here if you'd like to go watch them. I'm not going to dig into them for this video. Where we're going to start is right here, create a repository. So what is a repository? A repository is just a container that's going to hold your code. You can think of it like a project, and for the most part, you're going to have one project inside of a repository. You can read right here, it says repositories contain a project's files and version history. So this is where we're going to see the code for this project. This is where we're going to see any of the changes that were made, branches, and other things that we're going to get into later. And so the first thing that we need to do is create a repository name and then select your owner. The owner is probably just going to be you and your only account if you just signed up. For this repository name, we're just going to call it test repo. Repo is what you'll most commonly hear people say. They won't usually say repository, they'll say repo when they're talking about repositories, especially here in GitHub. We can also add a description. This is optional. I'm just going to add a place where we can practice. Configuration, you can choose your visibility. I usually like to just start private, and you can add a README. I'm going to go ahead and check that on, and we will see what that is in a little bit when we create this. Git ignore. This is a great option if you're starting an Android or iOS project. They even have, if you look here, Android or iOS, maybe Swift. Yeah, Android is Swift. So Swift is a programming language for iOS. And those are great starting points. There's a lot of files that are specific to a local machine that you usually don't want pushing up into your repository that's shared with the whole team, because it's going to just cause a lot of mess and confusion. But we're not going to talk about that here yet. We're just going to go ahead and do no git ignore. You can also add a license. I'm not going to go into what any of these are or make any recommendations for you right now, but this is definitely something that if you want to go research on your own, you can do so, and maybe we'll do a video about it in the future. But for now, for this practice, I'm just going to hit no license and create repository. You'll see the only thing we have in here is this readme.md. MD means markdown, so it's a markdown file, which is just a way of styling text easily. And the readme shows up right here. So whatever you put into this readme.md will show up here. The readme is meant to be an explanation of what this project is and how you can use it and how you can contribute. So if we take a look here, here's one from Google that's public, and you'll see that the repo just gives some good instructions on getting started in this repo if you want to contribute or use some of this code. Keep in mind though, it's not just about sharing this with other people outside of your own company or your own team. This is a great place to document things if you're ever onboarding new team members, or even just so you don't forget how to use your own code, which, trust me, that happens a lot more often than you would think. So back at our test repo, let's go ahead and just do a few simple practices in here. For example, the first thing we can do is practice editing the README. So what we can do here is we can explain what this is for. So we can say purpose, a place where we can practice. That's fine. So let's go ahead and commit these changes. So what does commit mean? This is like saving work in GitHub. And what you're going to see is there's this commit message. It says update readme. You can also add a more detailed description of this commit here. This is usually good for explaining why you made changes to the code. Typically what I would do in a commit message, usually you're working off of work tickets, which is something that we won't cover here. Probably in the future I'll make another video about that. Usually I like to put like some kind of ticket number or something that the product team can easily correlate to some kind of requirement that they have. For now, we'll leave it at this. I like using keywords like update, add, remove, and I just put those in all caps at the beginning. And we'll just leave it at this for now. And for the more detailed description here, we'll go ahead and write update the README to be more clear on the purpose. And to add even a little bit more detail about what we changed, I'm going to say changed the header to I'm going to put this in quotes, purpose instead of test repo. You'll see that there's commit directly to the main branch or create a new branch for the commit. And we're going to talk more about branches later. So normally I would recommend you do this option, but right now we're going to commit it directly to the main branch. So you hit commit, and you'll see that it changed our README. And right now we're looking at that specific commit, and it's just showing what the file looks like. This is the preview. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go click on the code again, and this will bring us back to what we were looking at earlier, and you can see the README has changed. And now anyone that logs in and has access to this repo and takes a look, they're all going to see this change reflected. So let's say we want to add one more change, and we hit edit file. We're going to do this again, a place where we can practice, and I'm going to add version control. You might also be wondering, why is this symbol here? And why does it not show when we click on preview or when we're on that main page? Well, remember earlier when I said that this .md means that this is a markdown file? Well, this symbol is simply telling a markdown file that this is a header. Like I said earlier, markdown is just an easy way to style things really quickly, and we use it a lot. And so another example I can show you, you can even do 2 or 3. And what that's going to tell it is heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. And we're going to go ahead and see heading 2 and heading 3. And we'll preview that, and you can see it just gradually gets smaller. There is a limit. Basically, this is like a heading and then a subheading and then a subheading, so you can layer things that way. So let's go ahead and take advantage of that and make a few changes using the styling now. What we'll do is we'll get rid of this. We'll make a new main heading called Getting Started. And under that, let's do a subheading now of purpose. Then we'll add another subheading here, and we'll say how to use. And what we'll put here is go ahead, make a change, then commit it. Everyone can then see the change. And we're going to go ahead and commit that. And again, update, add how to use to README. And I'm just going to add updated the styling. We'll also go ahead and say added header with subheadings. Then we'll also just go ahead and say added how to use section. And again, we're going to just commit this directly to the main branch. We'll commit the changes, and let's take a look at how that looks. So that looks pretty nice, and it's pretty easy to do that styling fairly quickly. So that's pretty much it for making changes, at least here directly in GitHub. You can also add completely new files if we wanted. we can just name this test file, and then what we'll put here is hello test file, and we'll go ahead and commit this change as well. We can say add test file. We can say added a new file that we can practice with. And we're going to commit that directly to the main branch as well. Okay, so now you can see there's a README here and the test file. Test file doesn't show up down here because, like I said, this space is really dedicated for the README, so you can quickly dive into a repo. If we come here, we'll see them here. It shows us the commit that the file was added, when this was last updated. So now we can start to see a little bit about the history, right? This was added with this. This was last edited with this. But now let's look a little bit more into history. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to this commits button here, and we're going to click on it. And what we can see is it shows all the commits that have ever happened on this main branch. So we have initial commit, which was just creating the repo. We have the update README. We have this update add how to use the README commit, and then we have this add test file. If we click on any of these, then you'll start to see, even line by line, you can see exactly what was changed. So on this commit, the only thing that was changed was red is everything that was removed, and then the green is what was added. So we removed this test repo and we added purpose. So basically we just updated it to say purpose instead of test repo. You can make comments on this. Like I said, your team members can come in, comment, ask questions, tell you good job. If we look at another one that has a little bit more, then we'll see it starts to look a little bit different. Every single line was changed. So it said these two lines were removed and all these were added. And really what we can see if we compare the two is purpose is no longer that first heading, it's a subheading, and get started is now the main header. And then a place where we can practice, we added version control to there as well. And then we also added this how to use. So now you can start to see that you can start tracking every single change of every commit. Not only does it show what was changed, but also shows you who changed it and when. Over here, you can see that commit message that we had earlier. So you could say, why did he change it? Well, this is why. So let's just go ahead and go back to the code. Being able to track changes like that comes very handy when, say, you have a new version, a new bug was introduced. You can look at the lines and think, well, it touches this code. The code was changed here at this commit. This is probably where it stopped working. You can also start to track the code back in history. If you come over to one of these commits, you can hit browse files here. And here you'll see exactly what everything looked like at this commit. You'll see that this no longer says main. It now has what's called a commit hash. So it's just like a unique identifier for this commit. And we're not on the main branch anymore. And this is a snapshot in history of exactly what the code looked like at this exact commit. And you'll see that our test file is missing here. If we go back here and click back on the main, there it is. So nothing lost. You can go back in time. You can see exactly how stuff looked on a certain commit, and you can compare it to what it looks like now. So what we've learned is you can edit things directly here. You can commit them right to the main branch where everyone will see the changes. You can look at your history. You can review each single commit, but you can also know what the whole repo looked like at that commit. The final way that I'm going to show you that you can view history is if you know two commit hashes that you want to compare. So for example, let's say, hey, I know something was working in this one and now it's not. I can actually copy those two commit hashes and compare them. So I'm going to copy this first one here. And I'm going to open up Spotlight and I'm just going to paste it here. This is just the holder for me to make things easier. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this one And up here in the URL, what we have is, so this is organization, and then what repo we're in. We're going to change this commits part to compare, and I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do this one first, so the older commit first, and then do 3 dots. And then I'm going to open up this spotlight search, and I'm going to copy that out of there again. And this is this commit, the most recent commit. And we're going to see what the difference between those 2 commits are. And what it's going to show me is exactly one file has changed between those 2, and it's adding the test file. So the next thing I'm going to do show you is you can also copy this one. If I'm on this compare screen, I can also change what I'm comparing right here directly as well. I'm going to, in branch, I'm going to paste in this commit and select it there. And now it's showing the difference between 2 commits. It's going to show me there's 2 commits between these 2. And it's going to show me everything that's changed between those 2. So between our most recent one and then 2 commits ago is all this has changed in the README, and then we've also added this new file. So that's another way of viewing changes across multiple commits. So that's it. This is just a quick introduction to GitHub. There's a lot more you can do, but that's where we're going to stop for now. Thank you.